Okay, welcome everybody to proMX Dynamics Week 2021. And today is the fourth day in a row, the first session. And today we will talk about, again, new updates from project operations. And one of the most interesting, I would say, topic today is migration from PSA to PO. And also there will be subcontractor management and other interesting topics from Sebastian. But yeah, there will be one more session tomorrow. Do not miss and please register. There will be a link in a few seconds in a chat. Also, do not miss our other events and roundtables and all the news updates from Microsoft. Just subscribe to our newsletter so you will get all fresh and new information each month as soon as possible. So yeah, welcome Sebastian to our session. Nice to see you. Still fresh, even though you had so long flight to US. Yeah, let us start.
Yeah, thank you. Then I will take over the presentation and start right away. So just give me a second. So let's then go there. And yeah, I will also turn off the camera then, but you can still hear me then. Okay, so yeah, welcome to our today's session of the Dynamics Week here at proMX. So we will talk today what's new in Dynamics 365 project operations. So we will see basically what is going on there. Just for a hint, I only have that one monitor. So if there's something going on in the chat, there's some colleagues, they will take care about this. They will try to answer all your questions, and we will also come to the questions at the end of the meeting. But I cannot just see them, and so I cannot take care about them during the presentation, but we will find some space and time at the end. And yeah, then let's start. And first of all, we will check on some words and some terms we are using, or I will use during that presentation. So first of all, when we talk about PSA, or I talk about PSA, I talk about the Dynamics 365 Project Service Automation product from Microsoft. And when I talk about F&O, it's finance and operations, so the ERP system from Microsoft, formerly known as AX. And when I talk about CDS, it's basically Dataverse. And when I say customer engagement or CRM or CE or something like that in direction, then that's the Dataverse side of the Dynamics 365. So please forgive me some of the old known terms there. It's just like burned in my head, and I cannot get rid of it. And I really try to adapt with all the new marketing pronunciations and words, terms each year. But yeah, I try my very best. And first of all, the most important one, when I talk about project operations, I will rather refer to it as project ops or pro ops or something like short term, to not always say Dynamics 365 project operations. But just to be on the safe side, here is a small overview. Then to my who am I and who's even talking here? My name is Sebastian Sieber. I work already since not a decade, but it's like 8 or 9 years for proMX, and I'm working here as a product manager for the ISV Solutions. So I take above everything which is happening on our product development side, and also yeah, be very proactive in that project operations product. I was involved there from the very beginning, where it was still PSA, and it was still kind of in development. I was there with a team from proMX side, and very close to the developers from Microsoft. So we got there some insights and got some knowledge there, and still maintaining that, and still be there on the edge. if there is something you cannot put in today in this presentation, or you may see that presentation later on, and you do have there are some questions, you can see my email there, sebastian.sieber@proMX.net. Just mail me or connect with me in Teams and let me know. You could also find me on LinkedIn, and but you can just search for my name and then it should pop up. And yeah, I also know that the picture is an old one. I will take care as soon as that there's a new one. I'm super sorry about that. But let's hit the agenda and see what we have on the menu for today. So we will first talk about the modern approvals for PSA and project ops, and we then also will go through the functionality of the subcontractor handling, and as well as Jelena already mentioned, we will also talk about migration scenarios we have when we want to go from the PSA to project operations. And last but not least, we will cover some questions from the chat or then from your end. So first hit with modern approvals. What are modern approvals? Basically, or what are approvals in general? So approvals are used to approve the time entries happening in our projects. So we want to put them through a multi-factor approval process where we want to check what is going on the projects, and we want to double check if everything is all right, what the employee tracks in their tracking or time entry creation phase. And those approvals got an update. This update is called modern approvals, and this is available right now on PSA and project ops. So it's available with both the versions, and if you have still PSA there in place, you can go there and enable it, because you have to do it manually. And basically what is happening there, it is batching the approval in different sets and then proceeds them. So normally when we have like a number of 20, 25, 50 records to approve, it kind of blocks the system, and it's quite slow. And Microsoft got rid of that functionality basically and moved it to an asynchronous functionality, which also will rerun from time to time to just increase the consistency of that. So let's talk about a bit of the functionality. We do have the functionality that the approvals are processed asynchronously or synchronously. So we have both ways right now, basically. So we can go both ways. This is a bit depending on how much approvals are in your system, what is the process of your project managers, if they're approving more likely on the end of the month or at the end of the week. And normally when we talk about customers, then we know that it's mainly end of the month. And what's happening in the background is now, if I select as a project manager my approvals and I reach a certain number, those approval sets then will be proceed asynchronously in the background. So they will be removed from my view, from my current view where I approve my records, and then will move to the background. And all of these approvals I'm now approving are summarized in so-called approval sets. So the set is basically depending on the project. It's also depending on the state. So if I want to approve or reject or recall something, it's always an own set. So it's depending on the stage, and as mentioned on the project. So we can also have a new entity there. We can include to reporting, for example. And those approval sets, they will then summarize the selected approvals. So for example, I have 10 records to approve, and 5 of them are from the same project, and I will do all the approval job on all of them. Then those 5 records get summarized in one of the approval sets, and I can also track that and find out what is the state of that and how often it was run, and how often it may failed, and all these stuff. So I can check basically everything right there. Also, what is kind of that, if it should fail at the end, which shouldn't happen that often anymore, you do have also a log file there in the notes. So there's a notes attachment of each of the approval sets that holds all the information for each approval that gets proceed within that approval set. And with that, you can like trigger or you can like, yeah, find out what is happening, why your approval didn't proceed correctly. Yeah, so as mentioned, we are summarizing the project approvals and sets. We do have a custom threshold menu value. What does it mean by that? There's the customer given opportunity that they can decide when do you want to have that asynchronous flow starting. So in the settings, you can set up the value for that, and you can either decide if you want to go with like a smaller value where we go with like a 3 or 5, where we then have like those numbers reached and go to the async mode, or we choose a higher mode, will like everything like till 10 will be still proceed synchronously, because this is basically a breaking point we have there, and can go async or sync on that. So it's completely custom, and we see everything right there. And why I've mentioned that it will be reapproved, or it will be basically triggered again when we go with the async. There's a Cloudflow actually in the background that retriggers queued up approval sets. So every time that that flow runs, it picks up the approval set and tries to approve it again. So it not really does not make it any faster or something, but it improves the consistency, and that's what we want at the end of the day. So we don't want anymore that our approvals are basically stuck in a pending phase where we not sure what is happening. Is something still happening, or is it already like leftovers or so? And do you need to reapprove that again? And for example, or especially in customer scenarios, we have additional quality gates on the approval. So there's not often the case support engineer can go there and just reapprove everything and does that manually. Very often then those don't have like the right permissions, or there's a custom quality gate on that sitting on top of the whole approval process, which then again slows a bit down and makes it more difficult to reapprove stuff. But like this new approval setup, we do have more possibilities, and we can manage the approval of the customers much more better. And also on the benefit side, I just slided into that while talking. So we do have the individual approval setup where we can really determine when do we want to go with the async approach and when do we want to do the sync approach. Because when I still like have like 1 or 2 records to be approved, I can do it synchronously, and then it's directly approved. Then there is no like time in between, and it's directly happens. Yeah, I don't need to wait for any async process till they are happening, and the user also gets a nice experience. The difficult or the difference here basically is that when the user is approving 10 records in the old feature setup, those 10 records will be processed, and it will take some time. And in the new one, if it's set to asynchronously, he gets a small pop-up. We will see that in a minute. And then he approves that, and it can directly go further and work on the system. So he's no longer blocked in his actions when he's waiting for the approval. And yeah, he's made not grabbing coffee while approving them, but he can just continue working on everything else. And talking about that, we want to see how we can set up the modern approvals. So as already mentioned, it's an opt-in feature. So you'll go there in your settings, in your model-driven project operations application, go there, select a parameter, you have for your instance, and then you can have that overview on the drop-down feature control right there. And there you have like enable modern approvals. What you can do is basically you can try it out and you can see maybe if it works fine for you, and you can also disable it later anytime. So this is also one of the great benefits right here. If it doesn't fit your needs or it doesn't fit your expectations, you can just go there and disable it again. Once enabled, you will see that there is a modern approvals section on your parameters form that holds the background approval threshold. That's the number I've mentioned before. So the number is there to split into two areas, the sync area and the async area. So if the threshold is like 0 or null, then each record will be asynchronously processed. So that means even if I select a single record, it will go to the async flow and this will be processed right there. If it's bigger than 0, the number till it reaches the given number, or the number of approvals till it reaches the given number, will be processed synchronously. And if it like exceeds that number we have given here, it runs into asynchronously process. So as mentioned, that has the benefit. It's quite individual, and I can still get like in the direct approvals right there. So just imagine a scenario. You have like 2 records left for approval, and you have all been waiting the whole day for that. There was some recalling action and all this stuff, and you need that to approve that for the invoicing, and you want to just have those 2, and you select those 2, you approve it. It's still works right away. It's not like going into the async and then you're waiting for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes maybe. It will be processed over time, but you can still have that direct approval. So this is still there. You basically get both best of both worlds of that. And when you want to, or when you're selecting multiple records that exceeds that threshold number, you will also get a notification as a user. So you select like 10 records, hit on the approve button, and then you will see that message. So selected records have been queued. The system will continue processing your selected records for the action, and it will all go fine in your background, and you can track it with approval sets. So we recommend to put the approval sets maybe on the sitemap or like include them to the views you have, that you can always kind of quick access them, because out of the box they're only available in the advanced find. So maybe you want to put them somewhere visible in your model-driven map, even if it's just for the administrators, but it makes sense just to put them there. And then the recommend value for the background approval threshold. From our side, it's something about 5. So everything till 5 records will be processed synchronously, and this happens quite fast. This happens very consistently. There's like no breakups of that, no hiccups. We didn't make any, or didn't had any bad experience about that. And everything that's bigger as 5, it will be go into the async section and will then process at any time when it's available. And we really made a good experience with that approach, and for our own testing, for our own productive environment, and as well for like customer environments. So our testing was there pretty nice with that value. You can also like put it a bit down or higher, depending on how the process is working for your project managers. And even you can still like adjust it, so you can try it out. So maybe 1 month you could go with a 5, and the next month you go with a 10, and you can maybe see and observe if there's any differences. There's one thing to check. That depends, I think, a bit on the version you're working with currently of the PSA or the project ops. To check on if the cloud flow is enabled. We had some certain cases where the cloud flow got not enabled automatically. It could be that this is already fixed, but I just give you that as an information, that you have that knowledge and you check with that. So what you want to do is you go to your suggested environment where you want to, or you have enabled basically you do it after enabling. So you have enabled the modern approvals and you don't just want to double check. You go to solutions and then you search for the project operations solution. That's right there. It's the name is the project service and displays project operations. And from there, you hop in and then you have the cloud flows right there. And there's only one. That makes it quite easy to check on that. So it's a nice and easy check there. So you go first to the cloud flows on the left-hand side. On the second down, you will see the project service recurrently scheduled project approval stats flow right there. And opening that, you just double check if that status is set to on. If it's not, you can turn it on manually. Also, what you can do is you can go there and find out if it runs, where it runs, was there an error or something. So just a normal flow. But this is just like to double check in terms of to make sure that everything works all fine. That's all about the modern approvals. Let's jump on the second topic for today, which is the subcontractor handling. It's available only on the project operations this time, so it doesn't come with the PSA. For right now, it's also only there for the light deployment, and it's an early access since the October 2021 release. What do we have there? So what does it bring to us? So basically, we are enabling an additional process. So when we talk about the process, normally we go from the opportunity, we go to the quote, we creating project contracts and project contract lines, and then we are connecting that with our project. We are getting the estimate lines done, all the stuff, we're doing the planning. And then there's something happening that we also want to sell something, or we need to purchase something for that project. So we need to bring in some vendors and suppliers, and this is basically what is happening right there. And we can bring the vendors with that new subcontractor handling, so you can use the accounts from your existing environment. You bring them in, and you can set up the subcontractor contract with them. It can be all done manually, so you have custom pricing. You can have different billing methods. You do also have like the same structure as you have on the project contract, so it's pretty similar to that. And you can really benefit from the functionality which is given on the project contract, as well like on the subcontractor handling there. So you can jump in onto the pricing, so you have special price lists there as well. It's a type purchase, so you can create them, you can individual design them, how the prices should look like. You can include their times, you can also expenses or product related transactions, so everything there from your sales process will be available. And last but not least there, the very nice thing there, you can also staff your contract workers. So when you have like resources working from your vendor or supplier there, and you want to plan them in your project, you can do that now. So you can like connect them with that with the contract. You can plan them in your project. You can use like placeholders. You can use like real bookable resources in terms of types of user or contact. So for example, if they don't want to have like access to the system, or it's not allowed from your side, you can still use the contact type bookable resource, which is then connected to the vendor account. This is then gets linked to the subcontract, and this can be then enabled for your project. So you can then basically plan those resources as a project manager into your project plan. They can do as well some time tracking. It can be done as well then displayed onto the invoice. All the stuff. It's basically like a additional process that was just added just overnight. And how the process maybe looks like, we will see right here. So we go here from left to right. So the project manager basically creates a subcontract in the first place. He adds the line items, very, very similar to what happens on a project contract. So also in the project contract, if you can imagine, there's the there's the contract, and we want to add the lines, the services we are offering, and we're doing exactly the same on the subcontract. So we, for example, do it for times or products. So maybe we still stick with times in this example, and then we want to assign the vendor resources. So maybe we already have some in the system. So the HR or someone else already created all of these resources from the vendor, and then we are assigning those resources, and we can then as well, then as mentioned, staff them in my normal project plan. There's like no differences. There's like one extra setting you need to do, that is like a contract worker, but this will be there very visible. And it then also updates all your estimates, so all your project planning will be on track with the updated costs from the purchase price list. Everything will be right there. The controlling like really adapts to that, and also the vendor capacity, which is then displayed on the subcontractor. On the subcontractor, sorry, will basically update with like the ongoing project. And this is really like the benefits right there, that it's natively integrated into project ops right there. So we are reflected on the schedule board and the planning. So everything goes there hand in hand, and you can just like continue working as you're using internal resources. Oh, sorry for that. So you're really ongoing with your internal resources. Sorry, you're ongoing as your vendor resources as it would be an internal resource, and then all the planning, all the calculations happening in the background. You always have the vendor budget and capacity available to check on, so you can see what is going on, and you can see if the all sticks together and right. And you can as well put everything to the invoice after the normal integrated approval. So there's also no extra step or no additional approval step besides the normal out of the box scenario there. So it's just there in the process. Also, honorable mention there, you also do have different stages on the subcontract, so you can as well kind of draft and confirm that, or you can reopen that contract if you want to make any changes. And it's very flexible in that point. And yeah, sliding into the benefits right there, as already mentioned, we are super embedded into like the resource planning, the project management and the invoicing. So we don't need to for example, customize something there, or there's nothing as a partner or implementation partner we need to care about or something. We are just go there and enable the feature, and it's all fine and it's all set, and there's like nothing more to add. I think the only thing you need to add is basically a vendor if you don't have that anymore already, or the price list for that. So you set this all up and you're good to go, and it's pretty easy and it's pretty powerful. Coming to the flexible pricing, so you can like basically, as mentioned, set up the purchase price list very individual, also based now with different currencies and all this stuff. So you can really play around there and get your favorite pricing as you wish, so that you get the right numbers on your invoice. And this also goes for ongoing projects. So you can also link that for ongoing projects if that's like something that changes during the project, or maybe you now have the project ops already in place and you want to go there and right now want to enable the subcontractor handling. You just go there, click there, and it's there, and you can just use it for all your projects. You don't have to start over or something. You don't have to close the project, create a new one just to use a new feature. It's just directly there and you can use it. And of course, it enables such more possibilities for your reporting and for your Power BI, for example. So you can track all the costs, you can track like the vendor budget and all the stuff that's happening. You can basically have a complete new category for reporting there, what happens from the internal resources versus what happens by the vendor or supplier resources, for example, or even what comes in there, what are the costs on my project and all this stuff. So it really brings up a lot of features, and yeah, it's still kind kind of early access, so we expect there as well some more features to be soonish in the future. How to enable the subcontractor handling? So again, we will see it again on the project parameters form, and we again going to the feature control and enabling the subcontractor handling. Basically, it's right there underneath the more than approval. So for both features of the session, you have the same place or the same spot to find them. But what is important here, that you cannot disable it afterwards. So I would recommend to maybe first play around it in a copy or a sandbox environment, just to get a feeling about that, how you can use it in your processes, and then not directly enabled in our production. So just play around with it a bit and get used to it. And basically after it enabling, we will get some new tables to navigation. It will all happen on the model-driven project operations application underneath the project area. And then you have the purchasing section there. So you will get the vendors, which are basically the customers at accounts, sorry. You will get the subcontracts. You will as well get the contracted resources and the materials on order. So you have a direct access to like all the four important things. So you have the vendors, where you can like create new vendors or change existing vendors or update the data there. You do have all your subcontractors on like one page, and as well the resources, and as well like all the products you are shopping for. So this brings them basically or enables basically subcontractor handling for that. There's not more much to do. Of course, as mentioned, very important, the subcontractors, they're handled by the purchase type price list. So normally till now, you mainly use the sales or cost price lists for PSA or purchase jobs. Now, as well, we have the purchase ones. Then coming to our last point of today, I'm a bit looking on the clock. I think we are then good on time, which is the migration paths to project operations. So we do have 3 different migration options right there. So first of all, we do have the in-place upgrade. We do have the data migration to a new project operations environment. And we also have the option to uninstall PSA and reinstall project ops there on top. So maybe let's start with the other two, and then let's jump to the most interesting one. So first of all, let's start from the bottom in this case. So uninstall PSA and reinstall project operations. So this is mainly used in cases when you didn't have enough or that much productive data there. So the problem is there when we uninstall PSA, it will also remove the projects. And when you reinstall in the project ops, you may have to export and import your data a bit. So with the removing of resolution, the entities will also, tables will also be removed, and it will then also remove the data, of course. So be careful about that. Also, when you have a customized system or customized environment with like custom plugins or workflows, cloud flows, whatever, it always gets a bit difficult to uninstall PSA a bit later. So especially when you're already running a productive system since years, then it's kind of a bit difficult. So we not really recommending the last point there, so to uninstall it. So it's maybe something when you just have installed PSA and you're not live at the moment, and then you want to check out what is happening there. Then you're free to do it, or you have like an environment you can just throw away. Then you can as well like set it up and directly from the scratch with project operations. Then the data migration, which is getting more interesting, because here we are basically setting up a mirrored environment of our productive environment just with project operations. So instead of installing PSA, we are installing project operations in that environment, and then like adding customizations on top and setting up everything in parallel, that we basically would have our two environments at some point. And what is then happening is that we are migrating the data with some tools from the PSA environment to the Project Ops environment. In that case, we need to do some adjustments because there are some changes on the schema names and on some entities that need to allow some changes. There are as well some new features on the Project Ops side we can consider in that case. So, for example, for existing data, it can be considered to enable a flag or something which was not there before. But basically, what we're doing is we're moving one data to from system A to system B, and this is not happening like in one click and then transfers all the data and it's all done. So it depends a bit on the data, on the size of the environment, and then multiple migrations will happen, and then you're always doing some delta migrations, so only changes since the last migration, and so on. So to a point, we finally then really have to in parallel environments. So then where we like all the data is the same. Just only one environment we do have project operations, on the other one we have PSA, and then with the go live, the environments basically switch places, and the user then accessing the project operations environment on the next day. So that's a very reasonable process there. We are already doing this with some of our customers. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And I think so for next year, this is definitely a way to upgrade the environment if you want to. And then come to the first point of the list, the in-place upgrade, which I put in brackets for be available next year. It basically starts next year in very the beginning of Q1. Microsoft will like upgrade existing environments from PSA to project operations. This basically happens on a certain priority list. So first priority would be the environments they don't use any WBS or scheduling functionality on the project tasks. That has the reason that in the project operations, basically everything around the scheduling of the tasks is changing, and there are like more limitations, and it's brings up the new features incorrectly if you just like move them. It's not possible at the moment, and therefore they will first upgrading the in-place on that. And then over the time, this will be more enabled next year till I think end of next year, where we then have like the normal migration or the normal in-place upgrade, hopefully. So that's the plan on that. So for the time frame of the in-place upgrade, as mentioned, it's starting Q1 next year, or it's already, I think, already started with some smaller out-of-the-box environments where like there are options to like left those WBS structures and project task structures out. So maybe even like environments without any project data. And then this will be extended basically with each phase. There are like 3 or 4 phases planned by Microsoft, and will all happen during the next year. It will then also migrate all the rest of the environments soonish. If you want to stay up to date with all that what happened on that project operation site, and as well as that migration options you do have, and you may want to get the information, or you want to get the latest results, what we did with our customers, or any kind of blog entries we do have, where we perhaps definitely will make this a topic in the next weeks. You can use the QR code right there on the slide to sign up for our newsletter. You will get spoiled with all the stuff you need to know about project operations and what happens on the platform. So would be nice if you could join there. Take this as a chance and get that sign up here. And then we are already coming to questions. Jelena, do we have anything in the chat you want to discuss?
Yes, we have something in the chat, but first, thank you, Sebastian, for this nice presentation. There are several questions. There were several questions, but I think there is only one which is like, yeah, there is only one which we didn't answer, and this is the last one, because for the rest of the questions were taken care Andy and Manuel. And yeah, thank you guys for supporting us. So there is a question from Michael. Do you see this one, or?
Actually, I don't see any of these questions.
Oh, okay.
But maybe you can just read it out loud. And then
But yeah, the question is, what tool method do we use to migrate data from a PSA to project operations?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So thank you, first of all, for the question. This depends. So there are onboard scenarios on the platform where we can use. So, for example, for environments with like a small amount of database records, we can use existing integrators there. But on the in 80–90% of our environments or migrations we do have a custom developed tool there to throw basically all these stuff around and to migrate from system A to B. So we do have a dev tool there from built by our developers during I think the last 10 years maybe, and it's still maintained there. There's a lot of knowledge into that tool, and we are definitely, or we constantly developing that further. And this is mostly used, and sometimes, as mentioned, we're also using the out-of-the-box integration. But for the way from going from PSA to proMX, PSA to proMX here, from PSA to Project Jobs, we would use our custom tool, because then we can just define the mapping. We can just easily define also custom fields. So, for example, you do have some additional fields on the PSA. We can just overtake them and migrate them with our tool, and it's a pretty nice and easy way there to do so.
Okay, thank you, Sebastian. So I assume that there won't be any questions so far. But anyway, you will have a chance to leave your comments and questions in our YouTube channel under the video. Of course, you will get the link to this recording, and you also may share it if you want. As Sebastian said, there is his email address, or you may easily find him on LinkedIn and then ask your question just privately. We will have one more session tomorrow. Join us. We will check with Manuel Hanak which solution from Microsoft fits to your needs and to your requirements. And we will be waiting for you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.